will look at, highlight just some of the awesome projects that we have going on, what they are, what skills are needed. And then I will finally just give a quick overview, some of the properties that you know and love, Slack, Trello, that stuff. After that, just do a little, take a time each call to do a personal story of each person's personal success on how they joined the team, what they've done, what they've learned, that kind of good stuff. Then go through to a round of introductions, and then if there's anything new, resources, and some Q&A. And it's exactly 50 slides, so we'll try to go quickly. So let me share out my screen. I've lost our Zoom window. As soon as I find my Zoom window, I'm going to share out this screen. There we are. All right, and let me know if you guys are not seeing my screen. Anyone seen it? Thumbs up. Good deal. All right. Here we are. Please, and also feel free to jump in with any questions, any comments, any whatever that you guys have. I've been accused of rambling in the past, so I'll try to avoid that. But welcome everybody to the very first Prog Code Network overview, October 17th, 2016. I just mentioned what we're going to cover today, so I'm not going to do that again. All right, let's start with a very brief history of what got us here. I find it's always important to understand the things that we've done in the past that have landed us where we are today, and it'll help shape where we're going tomorrow. So there's our two blank timelines. First, we had, pretty shitty all around in terms of our leadership. However, we had some intermittent hope here and there, some looking optimistic times along the way. More recently, this is the period that I like to call the Dark Ages. Not the greatest highlights for our nation and planet. 2008 hit, and we were all full of hope. Yes, we can. 2009 through 2015, hope, maybe. And then Hillary in 2015, the presumptive nominee, lover, hater, not necessarily the most exciting driving force that we've encountered. I think most people can agree to. But then hope, more hope. Bernie Sanders came around, and even more hope because right on those heels was Roppy and the team with Coders of Sanders, Coders for Sanders, identifying how they can create and produce and get out there all the tools that are going to make all this hope happen. Crap, the DNC happened. Not the greatest time for anybody, but again, Roppy and team, they were there in Philadelphia. They were fighting on the front lines. But hope again, yay! It wasn't long until Coders for Sanders moved over to become Prog Code. And then tonight, the most exciting part of all, because we are here gathered talking about hope and how we can actually achieve hope. And then tomorrow, who knows what will tomorrow be? It's going to be up to all of us to decide and determine what tomorrow is going to be, and we're going to talk about how we do that. So, what is our objective? Someone chiming in there, or just microphone? All right. Well, let me know. All right. What is our objective? Very, very simple. There is a lot of money polluting politics. And what we're trying to do here is get that money out of politics. How we see it is that money is sort of the root of a lot of evil that happens in politics. The huge, huge costs. I mean, who can blame you when a campaign costs $100 billion to run or whatever it may be? That's pretty expensive. And so that's going to also lead to a lot of undue and potentially unhelpful influence. So our goal is, how do we come together? How do we work effectively together across all these different great initiatives? How do we provide the tools and support that we need for whether you're someone who's trying to fight for an issue, or a local politician who wants to get elected, or even somebody who wants to get elected on the highest scales? What are the things that we can do and add to help just drive away money's influence within politics? How do we do that? Strategy. So Roppy outlined 3 very core goals that we have in fall of 2017. These include strengthening the volunteer community, doing stuff like, onboarding calls to actually show what's going on and how we can get all involved. Enriching the network, which is really, it's going to be a part of what we all do, how we come together, how we use this network and drive what our shared goals are. And then finally, using the network. And we bolster up all three of these areas, they continue to bolster one another up, and it creates this really cool triangle that goes like that. And then kind of long term, there's a fantastic document which I've linked to at the bottom of this presentation, which looks at what do we see as the core things that we need to keep doing. I won't run through all of these. You can see them, and there's a great paragraph on each one of them in there. But what are the key things that we see long term? It's like, how do we build up core members and then enrich their skills? How do we connect them with opportunities, both paid, unpaid? One very important thing is right now, I'm not getting paid for this. You're not getting paid for this. Maybe with time, we would all like to be, and that's certainly the further out there goal. But this is volunteers. This is people coming together saying that we're passionate about this. We care. We want to make this world a better place, and here's how we're going to do it. All right, let's take a very quick look at our operations. So I won't run through all this, but what you can see from an app integration perspective is that there is already a ton of stuff going on within the Progressive Coders Network, whether it's from gathering, collecting initial data down to actually deep engagement with people and how we actually organize. One very core area that we need is somebody who's going to kind of be the mastermind of how all these different apps flow together. Heard a lot of chatter on PitchZone lately of how can we create a one-stop shop for a person or a group that wants to use all of our tools. And I think there's a great opportunity for how do we connect these, how do we integrate these. Rafi and Viji are already doing an amazing job on connecting with all the different groups and teams on Progressive Coders within our network of apps. And so how do we continue to offer them value? How do we continue to become one shared view of everything and just becoming so much more powerful than the sum of our parts? And then that's where we have Code Corps, where we have Prog Code, and how do we integrate everything within one data layer. Similarly, from a customer journey perspective, again, there's a ton of stuff going on. What are the key things that we have to engage with the audience as we move them from this unaware state where they don't know anything down to this activist state that they are able to actually go and contribute and drive things that we're all doing here. I put this activist state here at the bottom. That's the end. That's the goal. And all of you, just by being here, have made it to the activist state. So thank you and well done. That's awesome. But thinking about all the things that how they come together, how do we drive from left to right, and how do we take someone who's an unknown attendee, somebody that we all meet at whatever meetup event in person and work, wherever we may be, and then drive them to being that person that's actually presenting, that's developing content, that's training others so that we can continue to do this. Thinking about all these things that we do holistically, whether it's in the blue, the core Prog Code offerings, to the network of apps, and again, thinking about these in one cohesive piece. Onboarding, that is what we're doing tonight. So just to very quickly highlight what is the actual process, because it's so critically important that when we have new people come on, it's not a, hey, this is exciting, all right, bye, but that we actually make it very easy for people to contribute. They know how they can plug into the community, they know how they can connect with other people. And so this is what's going to be extremely important for everyone here, is providing that feedback, that guidance. What do you need? What are the questions? But just at a very high level to show what that onboarding process looks like as we move from left to right. We have started onboarding. We're past this, we've identified, but there's a lot of great avenues to identify, whether it's in-person events through meetups and communities, online through social forums, other Slack groups, other chat groups, other messaging apps. And then as we're working with partners, as we're working with other progressive efforts, how do we work with them to drive through? So we bring people on through the onboarding form, understanding what's their interest, what are you trying to accomplish? And then down to, we got some feedback going on. All right, all good. Hey, here we are, providing the Progressive Coders Network overview of everything that's going on. And from here, I guess we're, all of this stuff is a big yellow in progress and construction, but we're making it, we're going forward. So as we bring people along, how do we assign an onboarding buddy that makes sure it's going to hold their hand and walk them through and identify great opportunities to integrate into ongoing projects? To consume all of the onboarding materials, the training, the purpose, providing their personal information. As we identify whether a person, they want to be part of the core Prog Code team, that Rapi and I are. If they want to contribute to other projects, hell, even if you just want to be a part of the community, that's awesome too. We love it all. But so taking that next step, introducing the participant to that deeper engagement where they can actually contribute, where ideally they can become part of what we're thinking of as interconnected rings within all of our different network of apps that will become ideally self-sustaining but integrated businesses. And then how do we drive that to report out to the network of here's what I did, here's what works, and that will be at the end of this call. And hey, I've made it to the end of onboarding. So just making that really great, ongoing, continual process. What I have right here is, of course, for all of this, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. There's a lot of functions that we've identified, operations, audience outreach, down to app strategy and DevOps. And this is just one view that we put together looking at what does it take to make a meetup event? What does it take to make a presentation, the content for a presentation? Like, what are all the different functions and processes that needs to come together to make business happen, essentially? So looking at from just with the use case of presenting out this content in a meetup event, defining what the overview for the presentation is, building out the template, finding the information from the app strategist on their partner integration and DevOps and IT for how everything actually comes together. Driving that through, collecting feedback from evangelists that will go and speak in the community. Building the training process for evangelist delivery so that if you come on, you're like, hey, I want to talk to the community about this stuff too. This sounds pretty cool. We have that in place. We have the self-paced training that you can go and deliver that. Actually delivering the prog code overview at meetups, and as well as our network of apps, making sure that we're representing for one or the other. That's why our partner outreach, incredibly important, that we're understanding their key needs and features, that we're developing demos, that we're co-presenting, that we're, wherever we can, identifying opportunities where we can just help all of us out, help one another out, because that's really the end of the game here. And then driving through, how do we actually get people to attend these things? How do we cross-train for even more delivery? And how do we build this, again, ongoing delivery process that we ultimately end up with new Prog-Go partners and team members? So all of these things, they're, things that are on paper now, things that are in diagrams now, but how do these evolve? How do these become more formalized, more effectful, more impactful things? And that's the questions that we're hoping that we can help answer with all you guys here. All right, as I mentioned, just want to take a very quick look at the different functional areas within ProgCode. Give a shout, any questions, any comments thus far. Otherwise, I will continue. But just wanted to kind of show what are the core things that we as ProgCode need. What are some things that we could help out with? One thing that I do want to call attention to is call them coordinator right now. One thing that we're very adamant about is that this isn't some organization where you have 92 levels of hierarchy bullshit and shadow decision making. Just those are things that really, really upset me in the past. Things where I've tried to get involved with other groups, and just the bureaucracy and like the politics that went on was just completely disheartening. So I put coordinator down just because of the core team working on ProgCode stuff currently. Those are sort of the individual people, but with time, I would want to delete that box. I would want to think of all of us as kind of working across and using the systems and tools that we build and develop, the processes that we develop to ensure that that we don't need to worry about hierarchy, that we can let the community decide, that we can help build like a self-sustaining, self-driving model. That's just really important. But of course, so specifically for audience outreach, how do we actually reach the community? How do we develop our plans to align and partner? How do we create like all those baseline things? Like it's very new, it's very early. Dan's doing a ton of amazing things on building up our PR engagement, how we interact with customers, our interview template, all sorts of great stuff. Absolutely need some help there. Partner outreach, very similar as Vigi. I'll need to get the pronunciation there later on. But as she works with all the great network of apps, understanding what are their objectives, what are they trying to accomplish, how do we enable them to integrate with other apps, how do we develop the sort of services and tools that they would need for a new app to come on and say, hey, that could be really useful if you guys say there's single sign-on, say we take care of analytics, say we have a single common design framework, whatever it may be. But just the things that we can offer as optional, completely optional, but the things that we can offer 2 people coming on so that they can actually get the most value that they possibly can out of Prog Code. Moving on to evangelism. Again, I just kind of threw Rafi's name up there because, God, he is just a great guy. But how do we go out to the community? How do we kind of tell people what we're doing? How do we become the onboarding buddy for people? App strategy, sort of mentioned earlier. How do all the things that we have come together? How do we onboard new apps? How do we work with the partner outreach? Operation stuff. And this is what sort of I've been driving. So things like, how do we create the onboarding process? How do we create these slides? How do we create, big fan of process, especially valuable process. Never process for the sake of process, but process that's repeatable, that's good, where it's valuable, where pieces fit in and you know where things go. Like, I don't know, that excites me. I don't know what it is, but there it is. But yes, how do we actually operate within this team? And design. And Dan, he crossed off one, I don't know if Dan or Rafi, somebody crossed off one of, hey, we have created our official logos, but like, how do we get that common design out there? How do we you have a uniform design? And I think what's very important here is that for people like me, people not necessarily super technically skilled, not a developer, having a background in IT, like technology, but I cannot code these things that I talk about. However, there's plenty of stuff for people to do. There are a million things that we can absolutely use help on, and I think that's really important to know, whether you're trying to work for Prog Code or work with one of our network of apps. So DevOps, the most famous buzzword of technology right now. But it's also important. How do we create, again, repeatable processes from a technical perspective so that we can continue to drive value out into the community, that we can build standards so that, again, the network of apps doesn't need to necessarily do all that work. To integrate and have a very common development framework. And IT is super important too. So all this stuff, how do we actually make sure it stands up across the right server infrastructure? How do we coordinate common identity? What are those IT perspectives? And of course, development. So even just outside of the network of apps, they have their own development needs. But within this, I'm sure your guys' minds are racing with a ton of different ideas for things that we'll need. How do we actually build those things? So skipping ahead here to all the awesome projects that we already have ongoing within Prog Code. So again, I just want to take a quick look. So these teams, we support them. They are independent. They work on their own. But we want to, wherever we can, integrate very closely with them. So put together a very quick view of here are the ongoing projects that we have. Here are the key contacts for each, both in our Slack channel. And then here are the things that they're actually looking for. So social crowd reach. Awesome site that is intending to be the one-stop shop that candidates or issues would need to go and gain audience outreach, to go and say, hey, I need people to phone bank, I need people to reach out through the streets, I need people to be on Twitter, whatever it may be. But that one-stop place where any person can go and connect with the community broad number of ways. Brand new Congress. I'm sure that you've all heard about it before. One thing that's really cool with Prog Code is that we're very highly integrated with all these just amazing technologies, and we're getting put up on websites all over the place. Rafi's moving and shaking and creating deals and getting our name out there. But brand new Congress, very small goal, just redoing all of Congress at once, which is awesome. And again, a great opportunity that we can support them, that we can provide feedback, whatever it may be. We're integrated, we're a community. We have a great opportunity to connect with them. Code Corps. Code Corps is very, very closely intertwined with Prog Code. They provide a lot of the and also are building and have vision for a lot of the underlying technology that we'll use. I love their main Code Corps page, which enables people to tell what skills you have, what you're interested in, and then attach you directly with a project that would be able to use your help. So the idea there is that with time, we would have that very direct integration as you go and register for whichever thing. You would immediately spit up, hey, here are the things that you should work on. Grassroots PB, a gigantic, ginormous, incredibly important one as part of the Bernie Sanders movement of getting people active, getting them calling, making sure that people are on the streets, making sure that we're reaching out. It's not over. It is not over by any means. It's how do we take that next generation? How do we continue to support, whether it's a local or national campaign, to continue to drive automated phone banking? And again, I think one important thing from the Procco team is to think about, like, how do we take this? How do we integrate this into, say, something that Social Crowdreach is doing? How do we integrate this with other programs? How do we drive this to the national data file database where all the information is stored, so that we do have a very highly integrated, attached, connected ecosystem of apps, so that it's one place and not 13 different things. Issue voter, very, very cool. Allows you to see your representative. Does it customized by your area? And it allows you to see how you would vote on stuff, how they vote on stuff, how they are in attendance. But it's going to be pivotally important that we're holding our elected officials responsible for what we ask them to do, what we expect them to do, that they're not just gallivanting with whatever lobbyists and other nonsense, that they're actually driving for the things that they promise, that we care about, that we expect them to deliver. Movement app. So again, it's another iteration that Josh Smith from the Code Corps team is driving of, again, very absolutely aligned to the underlying goals here of getting money out of politics, building out and reducing the bill to run campaigns from 100,000 millions, billions of dollars down to almost nothing with the collection of open source tools. National voter file. I cannot say that. So again, as I mentioned this earlier, but Ben on the team is working on integrating all different data sources into one common framework that is able to tap into for progressive type movements. And having all that information in one place, that there's not these just duplicated efforts, because I find the thing that kills most efforts is when that effort is duplicated, when people aren't working together in a coordinated and concerted manner. This will help with that. Not Me Us, another issue-oriented hub for people built on the Bernie Sanders movement, but still going as a place where we can connect and integrate with people. And Our Revolution, Bernie's next step for what that looks like. Again, very highly integrated into the work that we're doing. They're very active on our channels. As they continue to drive for that next step, again, integrating all those key tools and key resources that we're creating here. And Politics Reborn, VG, is focusing on how do communities actually integrate and organize with one another. Again, just such a pivotal part of the overall puzzle of actually driving progressive progress. As Bernie said, like, we need to be there in the streets. We need to not lose our sense of outrage. We need to show up, because that's the only way that you make change happen. Really, you see a continual theme here in these tools where it does drive that. It drives that ability to show up, to be outraged, to make progress happen. Carpool vote, same exact story. How do people actually get out that can't get out? How do you get to your polling place? How do you connect with people? So you have this carpool vote. It's awesome. Similar with Represent Me, making sure that politicians are actually working for the things that you care about. In addition, those are the ones that are highly active, already ongoing, awesome website, all that good stuff. We have a ton of other stuff in planning, things that we're discussing, things that we're kind of formalizing what this means today. Things like Jerome had the political AI, a real-time fact checker, Changemaker, a Tinder-style app where people can use information and provide information to find what they actually care about. I just put this out there and signed up. Probably say the name wrong, Sackett, I don't know. But I signed him up anyways because there's been a lot of chatter in the pitch zone the past couple of days of how do we build one tool, a suite of tools that integrate all the stuff that we're doing into one central place so that everything is connected, so that campaign, if they want to, they may go to this hosted version instead of having to do everything on their own. political landscape with Rick Dewitt, who's a representative out here in the great state of Washington. They're building very integrated with with national voter file. One single place that has all the information, has a single location that you can go to for everything, your one-stop shop for politics, basically. Revolution Hub, and again, streamlining the volunteer process. And then finally, Pat, leading up the No Super PAC, building most user-friendly and simple small donor platform. So it's a lot of stuff going on, a whole lot of stuff, and it's really awesome. But none of this stuff will happen if we don't work together, if we don't make it happen. It's not going to happen magically. Finally, I'm going to actually run through what are the core properties that we have. I imagine at this point, everybody is very well aware of the Slack group. Communicate with one another, collaborate. That's our central hub. That is our, think of it as the bar in Philadelphia in 1776 when they were deciding how they were going to revolutionize, how they're going to overthrow the British. That's our place. Hopefully we don't get inundated by British, so to speak. Work management, put all of those different tasks that you see into our central Trello board, which we're working on exposing in a more public manner, but that's our central place for storing all of our information and tracking all of our needs across all of our teams. Third-party communication, Roppy and Dan, very active on Medium as we do support different movements, different apps, as we just try to get out the word. How do we reach out to the third-party community? Social, of course, is always going to be very important on both Facebook and the Twitter of educating, attracting. Top left of here's the unknown people, driving to that bottom right of here we are on the call. How do we go and get the word out as well as amplify the work that us, our team, and our partners are doing? Roppy does an amazing job of making sure that everything gets uploaded to YouTube so that people, if you can't make it, they get to go there and see what we talked about. That we get to also create documentation and onboarding and training videos, anything that we can use. Is new people that are getting up to speed. Here is how they go and actually do that. And then awesome website of being our front door into driving new people. Again, hey, Roppy already has in there. Here's watch the overview, join Slack, which leads to the great registration page to find out why people are here, what their skills are, what they want to accomplish. So, all right. So that is the sort of end of the overview. What I also want to do, though, for each week is have a just very quick personal story of somebody who's been converted onto Prod Code and be able to very quickly tell their story. For this time, I figured I would do it myself because I'm here now. But just to kind of give how I got to where I am so far and where I want to go. So as I mentioned earlier, I got very into the Bernie bug back in March of 2 years ago. And very interested in participating. Like I mentioned, unfortunately, I found that more often than not, most places really, they relied on a lot of the same outdated tactics and poor culture that sort of got us in trouble in the first place. So as Bernie, exciting, and then not as much. I actually found there was a post on political revolution from Prod Code, from Roppy. Hey, we're trying to build coders. We're trying to pull everybody together, this one community. And so I was like, that sounds pretty effing awesome. I want to be a part of that. And so I signed up, joined the Slack, been lurking for a while, sent some messages of, hey, we should have operations and onboarding stuff. And it's bothering Roppy pretty much nonstop. With time, he's like, fine, Joe, go whatever, do whatever. So like, okie dokie, I made this diagram and did this and this. And then I, over the weekend, built this presentation. I was like, hey, we need a call. I think what's really cool about this is that it's been very much an opportunity to go and drive sort of what I wanted to, that a super open, super inclusive culture and community that already exists, where I've been able already to, I feel like, contribute a whole lot to be able to drive things in my own way and be able to like not be afraid of having people shut you in the door in your face or say no, and no, you're not going to do that. I'm very excited like of being able to hopefully help continue to build out that culture, build a place where regardless of what your skills, regardless of what you want to accomplish, this should be the place for you. And looking forward to much more with all of you. All right, so I have introductions. Yes, introductions. So I want to just, for the people on the call that have been listening, and you don't necessarily need to if you don't want to, but would love to just go around and give quick introduction to me, to the rest of the community here of who you are, why you're here, what's interested you, what you want to get involved in, anything that we covered in the presentation today, whatever you want. But I think it's just a great way to break the ice. We're in a safe place here. No one's going to get upset at you. But it's a great way to, I think, just tell us who one another is. So I'm going to put Rapi on the spot there to go and give his introduction, and then we'll just go around the horn for whoever else wants to jump in.
Right. Thank you, Joe. That was amazing. I just want to say that was freaking awesome, man. I really enjoyed the whole onboarding thing, and I didn't realize how vast the thing is right now. Like, it's so the Progressive Coders Network is getting huge, and just to add about the magnitude of what Joe is talking about is that we're reaching out outside of America as well. Like, we have partners in the UK, in France, in Canada, and in Germany, and it's just going all over. Like, everyone is very progressive, very much looking forward, and just wants to make everyone's lives better as well. So my name is Rapi. Hi. It's really a pleasure to meet you all. I don't know, what should I say? We've been doing this thing for quite a while, and I'm really excited to know every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. Who's up next? Should I call on somebody? I see Danielle. You are currently not on mute. Where are you? Unless you just disappeared.
How we doing?
Who is that? Go, please.
Cool. I don't know if you can see me or not. So I'm actually on my girlfriend's account because.
I was gonna say you don't look like a Danielle. No offense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Linux problems. So my name's Logan Byers. I kind of just joined the community like a couple of days ago, I think. I guess so. My background is like I'm an earth scientist and I study glaciers. And I don't really have much in the way of like the web experience, but it's kind of one of the things I wanted to get out of this community was kind of exposure to new technologies I don't always deal with, and kind of try to develop some skills and some expertise in areas I don't have right now. So I mostly code in like Python and C++ if I have to and stuff like that, but Python's pretty good. As far as like politically, yeah, probably the same thing as everyone else, just like generally feeling pretty disenfranchised and kind of being in a position of like voting for the lesser of two evils. I live in DC, so my vote doesn't really matter anyways, unfortunately, which is also a bummer. So hopefully I'm trying to get more involved in the kind of local DC community and politics, and then kind of actions that are going on here. I guess skill-wise, I'm pretty good with like geospatial data. So I've been trying to work on recently on the progressive events and get more comfortable with progressive events. And also I just started working with the carpool, vote carpool or whatever that's called. So guys, that's me. I'll be around Slack. You guys can say hi and stuff. I don't know if I want to pass it on to anyone. Anyone looking for it? Or I could pass it back to Joe. No.
Oh, I think Joe left.
Okay.
Disconnected, maybe. Andy, why won't you pick it up?
Hi, I'm Andy. I am not a coder. I'm not a very techie person, actually, but I work with Politics Reborn, and I also share an office with Rapi. So I'm very interested in what progressive coders are doing. I would probably be more of like an end user of the apps that are developed. But I'm really interested in how the process works, and I would like to help out in any way I can. Not being a very techie person myself, maybe I can help out on some things anyway. But thanks for including me in the call.
Thank you, Andy. And yes, us non-technical people need to stick together against all these pesky developers. Thanks for hanging on there, guys, while I dropped off. Who is up next? Who wants to give a quick introduction for themselves? Jaylee? If you're speaking, can't hear you. Or maybe I just can't hear him. So he's currently cursing at his computer just like I was as a moment ago. Well, how about as he is trying to get that one fixed, I'm not sure who else has gone, who else has not. JB, that kitchen looks familiar. Why don't you give an introduction of yourself there, JB?
Just trying to use the new Zoom versus the Google Hangouts
Turn it down a little bit.
and all that kind of stuff. Do I have a volume control?
No, I mean turn your screen down. You can see more than half of your face. That's better.
Hello? Can you hear me?
You're back.
Okay.
There you go. All right. Let's hear you.
So my name is Jason Lee. I joined this project a while ago. I'm actually very happy that you did this, Joe, because I actually hounded Rappy when I first joined to do this, because I said that he's going to have people come and join this. You needed an onboarding process. You needed some kind of process to do this. And I exactly said that to him. And his answer was to me, it's like, we're only a network to help other projects springboard, and that's not what we were doing. But I guess you somehow have convinced his mind to change, so I'm very happy about that. As for, I'm sorry, the individual who just spoke earlier, I'm bad for names, I'm sorry. We do need individuals like you because engineers are bad at designing usability, and I would find that your input would be probably the most helpful in that respect. So I'm a DevOps engineer. I'm a senior DevOps engineer, and I actually mentioned in chat that I would be willing to help as time permits with your efforts in coordinating DevOps people. So definitely will be willing to help you on that aspect. I don't know if there's an overall kind of arching DevOps team to kind of springboard projects with, because I also joined Carpool Vote, and I'm finding out that none of the DevOps work is there, and it's kind of everything ad hoc because they're trying to meet a deadline, which it would be a lot easier if we had kind of a base of code to spin up development environments and stuff like that already pre-coded for people's needs and stuff, and be able to modularize based on that. Right now it's not, and it's kind of hard for that reason. So
Sweet, that is awesome, Jason. And
Yeah, I just want to say something as like.
No, you get it.
Jason was completely correct. Like I think I didn't mean to blow you off, but I hope it didn't come out across that way. But
no, I'm not saying that. I'm only just saying that I hounded you for the same reason. That's all.
Yeah, no. And when Joe said that he hawked at me and like saying that we need process, he wasn't kidding, because I'm very much in the chaos type of idea type of thing. But Joe was really, no, we need process. So yeah, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, no, and I understood you agreed with me, but you just didn't know how to necessarily wrap your head around implementing it. And I understood that, and that's why I'm thanking Joe for taking this time to actually do it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's no offense against you, that it's just
no, of course.
Yeah, and it's basically, I find it ironic that I mentioned the same thing to you, and then only to hear this about this month later. But yeah, I just, I'm also the person who started starting some of the different programming channels, such as Python and everything within the Coders Network, in order to try to organize so that people could get Python help or that kind of thing in trying to lead that particular bits.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And whatever, Roppy, Roppy's a real jerk. No, that's fantastic. And yeah, we had your back there, Jason. Thank you very much for the introduction. And I would say absolutely.
I also feel like any of the non-technical people we really need project managers for sure, and that's an aspect that non-technical people can really help with. If they're really good at project management and like help organizing coders, because we're bad on time, we're bad at naming things, and we're also very bad at making things very usable, because we design the things that make sense to engineers and not to normal people.
No comment, guys. No comment. But yeah, so Jason, I would absolutely love to, from the operations, the onboarding perspective, any feedback ideas you have, absolutely want to hear it. And then I think from that DevOps perspective too, like right now for pretty much all those things, it's a blank canvas out there in terms of what we can offer, what we can do. But like you absolutely hit the nail on the head there of the sort of things that would be really highly valuable if we can have templates, if we can have centralized and consolidated resources that people can utilize, and in whatever format it can be. It will evolve with time. But
there's a level of bootstrapping there, to bring in coders as well, which is I said that needs to be standardized when Rafi and I talked about that specifically, because otherwise you're ad hocing things and you're trying to put things everywhere and you don't have a unified system of tools, and that makes it very difficult, because if you're hopping between projects and the tool set differs from one project to another, that makes it a lot of difficulty in trying to get someone from the programmers network and then hop into an individual project and not expecting the same kind of level consistency that you need to move between different projects. And from a operational standpoint, that's easy to fix, but somewhat hard to accomplish, but easy for people to adopt, as long as you build the things necessary in order to get that out there.
Absolutely agreed. Absolutely agreed. Well, we will. Let's absolutely follow up, and then we'll spend some good time together. Good deal. Good man. All right. Shall we keep moving down the road there? Do you want to go, JD?
Sure. I'm Joe from Philly. I've worked with end user and desktop support my entire career. I basically had the Bernie bug. Just as Joe had said, we actually saw him out in Seattle together. One of his first speeches, which was pretty damn awesome. It was amazing. I think 17,000 people jammed into that stadium at Washington University or whatever. My surprise about Bernie is that I really didn't know about him his entire career. He always worked behind the scenes and all that, and wasn't really the kind of politician that was in the news and all that. And that seems like it's not such a great thing for politicians anyway. So, but at what I could probably bring more to this is probably to help with the onboarding projects. I have an interest in DevOps, as Jaylee was mentioning. I'd be interested in being able to help out with probably beta testing or alpha testing different products and things like that. I can definitely give. I've worked through all different types of products. I've seen the evolution of IT from Windows 3.1 on out throughout my career. So I've definitely have an orientation towards finding something new and knowing what works with it and what could be improved upon. So looking forward to helping out.
Good deal. And also note, JB and I go way back to the time that I was born, because that there is my father. We sort of caught the Bernie bug along the same time. We've been, we learn a lot about technology and interest in politics and society and all sorts of things from him. So when I mentioned the work that we were doing here, very interested and eager to come jump on board and see how he can also help coordinate. And that's really what this is all about too. It's building out that network from whoever you know. And let's see more dads on the call next time, I think.
Yeah, and I think what Joe's saying there, we had kind of been working with a similar Slack contained group over the last 2 years or so with friends of ours and things along those lines, and but with philosophies about more fairer kind of a fairer planet for people to live in, a better distribution of wealth, things along those lines. And I think Joe had mentioned progressive coders, and it seems like this is a really good kind of, maybe more so where certainly we should be, because you're already definitely motivated along the same lines. The idea that you're doing apps and coders. We had talked about doing an app for like about 8 weeks straight, probably about this time last year, and had no idea where we would find developers and things along those lines. So I think it's very fortuitous that to be part of this group here now. So looking forward to it.
Good deal. Thank you, sir. All righty, moving down the list there. Hey, Riley, good seeing you again, man. You mind giving a little shout about yourself?
Hi, I'm Riley. I'm currently working with CodeCore. I've been doing a lot of the onboarding with Josh Smith. I'm a developer mostly, a lot of C#. I'm currently doing Python and JavaScript for my job. I was doing a lot of Bernie stuff as well. I worked with the Connect with Bernie website and the mobile apps involved. So, I'm here representing CodeCore, I guess. And anyone who's looking for things to do, head over to our Slack. We got tons of things to do.
Good man, and thank you very much for joining. Like I mentioned earlier, CodeCore and us, it's very interlocked, and we'll also chat about sort of how this comes together. And for all the network of apps, how do we drive shared resources, shared services, and so that we can learn these things and do them once and apply more broadly and integrate and team up and all of that good stuff. And then, Riley, if you still have time after, if you want to hang around and chat for a moment, and open to everyone, obviously, but we'll definitely love to do that.
Yeah, sure.
Good deal. All right, let's keep moving along. So we have Chris.
Hey.
Hey, Chris. How you doing, man?
Yeah, my name's Chris Murray. I live just outside of Denver, Colorado. I don't know how to switch it over to just me. So.
You're good. That's your HD resolution.
Okay. So yeah, I'm from outside of Denver, Colorado. I'm in Littleton. And how I got hooked up to Bernie, my wife is from Vermont. And so I mentioned to a friend, I was like, yeah, I met this woman, I met this girl from Vermont, and Colorado and Vermont might as well be China and, the USA. They're so far apart from each other. It's like a totally different world out there. And so I said, I met this girl from Vermont, and he's like, oh, Bernie Sanders. And I was like, who the hell's Bernie Sanders? I'd never heard of him before. And so I started researching him, and it was like, there is no way in hell that there is somebody like this in our federal government. They don't exist in our federal government. And the more I learned about him, the more I researched him, the more I liked. And I have, in fact, met him. He'll walk up and down Church Street because his office is on Church Street. And there's a mall, and you can sit on that mall and you'll see him walk by going to get his lunch. And, he'll be walking by with an aide. So I was able to meet him. This was before he announced his candidacy. So when he announced his candidacy, I was like, I'm all over that. I'm going to do whatever I can to help. And so I canvassed and made calls and things like that. And and of course I was disappointed in the turnout, but at the same time, we finally had somebody, believe it or not, in the United States, there are people with progressive values. There are a lot of people with progressive values. The right has tried to shut them up and tried to, kind of quell it and all that, but there are a lot of people with progressive values. And now we finally have somebody who kind of coalesced that. And so at this point in time, I've been working with computers. My first experience was coding BASIC on my little Atari 800 when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And I just, I've got a knack for it. I've done system administration. I know Linux. Right now I work for a large company that does healthcare software. And I currently support an application of theirs that brings data in from a bunch of different sources so that they can aggregate all this data and look at it and find out if, whether or not they're within, federal guidelines and things like that. So that's what I do right now. And I was on a big all hands call about a month ago. And the guy said, because I'm, being a progressive, it looks like my head is floating. I just realized that.
Sure.
Being a progressive, I'm of course I support very much a single payer universal healthcare system. And this guy made the comment about how our software helps our clients navigate the maze of healthcare networks and payers. And it hit me like a ton of bricks that I'm like, well, you know, here I am trying to push for a universal healthcare system, and my paycheck comes from a company whose bread and butter is all the inefficiencies in our healthcare system. So I just want to help out. I've got a knack for this stuff. I've always had a knack for computers. I understand it, but my problem is I can't learn something new, and you know, unless I've got like a kind of destination. If somebody says to me, this is what we need to build, okay, I can figure out how to build it, you know, and how to do it and all that kind of stuff. But just, you know, I've gone through a million of those code school classes and things like that, and after a while they get boring because it's like you can only type hello world or do a random number generator so much. So I want to do something. I want to push. I want that knack to go towards something and be for something. And if I can, you know, in my own little corner of the world, help out changing the face of the United States from a right-wing, you know, imperialist, you know, nation to somewhere that actually lives up to its values that it wrote in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. I'd love to do that. So I just don't know where to start. What do you need? Where to start? And that's kind of why I wanted to jump on this and see just if I can get in contact with anybody who needs help in anything. I know SQL. I've learned Python, but I've never been able to apply it because, like I said, I don't really have any big project or anything like that. So, you know, things like that, HTML, CSS, know all that, but just never applied it. So that's where I'm at.
That's fantastic, Chris. Thank you. And do you feel like the call gave you any better idea of opportunities there?
It did. The last part of it where you're going over some of the all the big, you know, the bigger apps and things like that, and what they need and where they, you know, what they're doing and stuff like that. That gave me a kind of place to zero in on. So yeah, it did help.
Fantastic. That's excellent. And that's absolutely the goal. And yeah, I think for all of us, it's, you know, the Bernie thing may or may not have ended exactly how we wanted it to, but none of us would be here today if it wasn't for that. I don't think Bernie really would have had the impact if he did if it wasn't for Occupy. So all of these things really do build on one after the other. And we now have an amazing opportunity to connect and drive just tremendous impact.
Yeah, the way, you know, we didn't get to this point overnight. We're not going to, you know, kind of reverse the ship overnight either. It's going to take some time and a lot of work, but I'm willing to do it because we
yes, here. Good stuff. All right, I think we have Lawton and Hayden next. Lawton, if you're on there, do you want to give a quick what's up?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Can indeed, and can see half of you.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm from New York, and I guess I'm mostly familiar with front-end web development. And I also like really like Linux, but I guess I've only really dabbled with it in most cases. Like, you know, like Chris, I think I need a project in order to work on. You know, and I guess I'm kind of interested in I already kind of know about the national voter file. I'm kind of interested in that, I guess, mainly because like we did a lot of canvassing for Bernie, and I'm just wondering, like, all that data that we gathered for the Bernie campaign, I mean, as I understand it, I think it mostly went into the database of NGPVan, and I don't know. I mean, it seems like they control the data. So it's like all that work that all these grassroots volunteers did wound up just contributing to the resources of a private company, and somehow that doesn't seem right. So I'm hoping, like, going forward, we don't have to continue to do things like that. So yeah, just that's mainly that's sort of what I'm interested in. If there's any other projects, you know, that might be similar, you know, anything to do with like local data, New York State data, I'd be pretty interested in that as well.
Good deal. Yeah, absolutely. The National Voter File was one of the first projects that really attracted me as well, just because it's so critically important. And exactly to your point, like, what happens with that data? How is it being used? Who has the long-term ownership of that? And making sure that that can be put toward continual, ongoing, progressive goals that it was originally intended for, and not for some behemoth to just suck up and do with whatever they please. Good stuff. So I think we have, has anybody not given an introduction? And thank you guys all so much for doing that. That's really, really excellent. So I have, I'll share it to read the slides that include some resources at the bottom. I'm not going to go back to share my screen now. That'll include some resources. But now just want to pretty much open it up for Q&A. So if anyone has any other questions, thoughts, comments, whatever, the floor is yours.
I was kind of wondering, is anyone from the National Voter File Project here today, or?
I don't believe so.
It's okay.
So, I know some of the parts of National Voter File. So
Okay.
right now they are looking for state representatives or state guardians of data. So someone who are more inclined or who are more in tune with the information in the specific state.
Mm-hmm.
So they're definitely looking for partners in each state. So does that help any?
I guess it helps. I guess I'm just wondering, what do they need to do then?
So one thing is that they could really use help in terms of SQL. They're using MySQL right now, I think. And another is, lawyers like who could help them navigate the legality of everything they're doing. And the guardians for the data they're using. So someone who would keep on updating data from New York, for example, or California.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess maybe I'd be happy to help with that. I guess I'll maybe get on the Slack channel and ask more about that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, they have a dedicated Slack channel there that's super active.
That was the National Voter File?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Going once, going twice, and I assume everyone is just too excited about just. It's probably really hard to pick between the two candidates that we have for president this year. Like they're both just so good. That's what's keeping me up at night. All righty, folks. Well then, with that,
I have another question, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Are there any other projects that are dealing with like local data in a similar way, or just in any way, maybe?
I think I can answer that, Joe. So progressive events is. Oh, sorry. Do you want to answer?
No, I was going to say please because I don't know.
Okay. No, so progressive events is really looking for state partners as well that are focused locally. Because the one thing they really want to do is help people go to their local community board meetings or county meetings and just really be involved in their local politics. And the lead developer, John Culver, is based in Seattle, so he doesn't know much of the goings on in different parts of the country. So he would definitely need help in terms of having someone who is very local, very in tune with the local politics and local goings on. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. That sounds like something I'd like to help with.
Cool.
Good deal. All right. Well, I'll probably be doing these at a cadence of every other week or so, and we'll go from there. And certainly encourage everybody to continue to join the weekly update calls that Roppy has. Stay involved in the Slack. I find that's just overall the best way to participate. But for these calls, of course, we'll do the overview. But we'll also use a lot of this time to jump into the new things, especially as we get more formalized. But then otherwise, if anybody has any questions, feedback, any ways that we can improve this, make this more effective or more impactful for all of you, please do let us know, because that is really the goal here, is just to make it as easy and painless as possible. So with that, and National Voter File, I see the IM window. I believe National Voter File is just it's in the build stage right now. They have a Word document that outlines the details of their process, which is linked to this in the overhead deck, which I will copy in here for you guys.
Okay, cool.
All right, so with that, anyone else feel free to stay around, but otherwise have an awesome night. And once again, thank you guys so much for coming and joining the call here and just being a part of this amazing group.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.